Okay, I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting to order at 5:30 on Tuesday, October 21st. The land we know as Squim was once inhabited solely by First Peoples known as Sklallam people represented by three tribal governments, Lower Elwha Sklallam, Jamestown Sklallam, and Port Gamble Sklallam. We serve as stewards of the land within the city of Squim with the same care and consideration the Sklallam tribes has and continues to provide. This acknowledgement is a respect to the Sklallam people and their history. The Planning Commission serves as an advisory body of the City Council. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to provide guidance and direction for Squim's future growth through continued review and improvement to Squim's comprehensive plan, zoning code, shoreline management, environmental protection, and related land use documents. The Planning Commission will have all the powers and perform each and all the duties specified by Chapter 35A.63 RCW as amended and set forth or amended by ordinance 2009-036 and 2009-030, ordinance 311 and 2. Can we do a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Commissioners Kuntz and Lefevre are out today on excused absences. So that being said, Commissioner Cummings.
Here.
Commissioner Fain. Commissioner Habel.
Here.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Present.
And Commissioner Mihalik. Thank you.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Justice for all.
So we have two minutes, draft minutes to recommend for approval. One for September 16th and one for October 7th. Do we need to do them separately or could we do them together?
I think they need to be done separately because Commissioner Hewitt was out for the 16th meeting and he wanted to recuse himself last time. And I didn't have a quorum last time, so let's just do them separate.
Okay. So September 16th, 2025 draft. Any comments or changes? Don't see any. How about a motion to approve these minutes?
I move they be approved.
Second?
Second.
Any objections to approving these minutes of September 16th? Hearing none. They are approved. Let's go on to October 7th, 2025. Any changes or amendments?
The October 7th, the director's report is blank. It just says director's report. So it needs some context.
Any other comments or corrections? Can we get a motion to approve this with the recommended change?
If I may note, I think under director's report, I talked about the public participation plan and for the development regulations. Okay, great.
With that included in there, I would move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second. Any objections to approving the minutes as amended? Don't see any. Minutes are approved for October 7th. Okay. Down to public comment. Anybody online tonight?
No one that wishes to make a comment.
Okay. And no one in the audience. Do I need to read that out? Do I need to read the description of public comment? Okay. And if there's no one here with public comment, we will move on to general business 2025 comprehensive plan status update. Carla, are you going to lead us through that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, as you know, this is our standing agenda item, and so I just usually point out some highlights for you, and usually begin on page 2. But I hope that you see that we're ticking away on our chapters, and we're getting close to the end, but we have saved the best for last. So these last 3 are going to be our kind of bigger, robust ones. The land use chapter I have for scheduled for today, and then if we need time for the first one in November, if we do get through it today, I may not have something ready for you on November 4th, but we can talk about that kind of at the end of the night. Point out the joint meeting with the city council. You should have gotten a Outlook appointment from the city clerk. So hopefully you all can make that meeting. If you can't, of course, you'll have other options such as watching the meeting online once it's recorded. And we do intend to release the market analysis at least a week before the meeting and have it posted on our website and have it publicly available, if not sooner. But November 10th is for sure the date. I talked to the consultant yesterday that's like our date for going public for the report. The report is a lot, is like over, I think I was telling you this last time, it's 100 pages, but it does have a lot of good data and good information. And I was just mentioning to a couple commissioners when we were having dinner that short-term rentals is in it. It's got some very good data that will help give you a good understanding of the short-term rental market and its and implications and recommendations from the consultant. The last thing I just want to note is attached to this status sheet was a set of graphs, data graphs that a little bit of a preview. Some of the ones after, I think I noted in there after the permit, the land use and building permit data came from DCD, and then the rest of the graphs are a preview for what you will see in the market report that did come from our consultants, Leland Consulting, and that's just a small smattering of it. But I did provide this as a handout to the Economic Development Council of Column Counties hosted a panel on September 30th, and I was a member of the panel, and this was something that I provided to them that I thought you might be of interest as well. But you will see a lot of this data again in the report. So with that, I'll wrap to see if you had any questions about how we're doing with the comp plan and if there was any questions you had on any of that housing data.
Looks like everybody's feeling good about what they read.
I wanted to make one comment. I'm a little surprised there were 0 multifamily permits issued this year. Did we just not really have any proposals?
We've had that is correct. We had one. Actually, we're probably getting close to issuing one this year. I think we'll get one done this year. There is one that is going through site construction permit review as well as building permit review. They got land use entitlement earlier this year, so we should be getting close to it.
And there was one that we issued. It was a 2023 permit, but it was issued in 2024. So that was a 5-plex. And then this one that should be issued this year is a 10-plex. So.
Yeah, Larry.
In the discussion of short-term rentals, it talks about they only took a look at a full house rental. Would that also include an ADU that's on a property, or and the reason why I ask is because the state is saying to solve our problem of housing shortage, let more people put an ADU on their property. to
Right.
Kind of like alleviate the burden. So I just wanted to make sure that we're not pulling out the ADUs as a non-full house rental.
No, this is just, I just collected one data point from the market report. They do provide a much broader analysis, which does include detached or attached ADUs as well. So yeah, this, so to be continued. But yes, the purpose of this data point was that to address or to at least respond to the comment, are full home ADUs, I'm sorry, full home short-term rentals taking housing stock out of the rental market in a substantive way.
Like there's no other questions. Keep telling us more good things.
Okay, I'm sorry, were you
go ahead.
waiting on me?
Yeah.
Okay, I can cue us up. I'll tee us up for the land use chapter. I'm sorry,
Okay.
that I missed that cue. I'm actually really excited about tonight's meeting because it's the culmination of work that the planning commission's done for the last couple months, where we started with the future land use map and the site specific amendment requests from our individual property owners, and walking through each of their requests and the purpose for it and what staff's recommendations are, and then moving to the future land use map itself and going through all the land use designations, which was last meeting. And now we're finishing our three-legged stool or our triangle or whatever metaphor we might want to use. And we're looking at the land use chapter, so the narrative and the goals and policies. And collectively, our land use chapter, our future land use map, our site specific amendments, and then the zoning code amendments that Travis identified at our last meeting as like we're moving forward with those, like that collectively is our land use growth framework for our comprehensive plan. And so a lot of our conversations and discussions and the couple hopes and dreams sessions that we've had over the last 10 months should be reflected in this chapter. So I guess with that, Madam Chair, I'll kick it back to you, but I'm excited and hopeful and interested to hear how the Planning Commission, read it and what you think of it. So.
Okay, thank you. So just planning to do the same thing, just go page by page, if that's okay with commissioners. And so we're on page 3 of 17. Any comments or compliments? Okay, let's move on to page 4 of 17. Yeah, Larry?
This is just another one of those spelling things.
Okay, it's all good.
Yeah.
I appreciate them.
Well, word selection, I guess.
Okay.
Down in the very last paragraph, the last word, hub for the Northern Olympic Peninsula. In other places, we say the North Olympic Peninsula.
Okay.
We just maybe for consistency purposes.
You tell me, I'm sorry, what,
Next word of the first sentence, the last paragraph, Northern Olympic Peninsula. We always usually call it the North Olympic Peninsula.
got it. Thank you.
That's why you pay me to be here, right, man?
Mhm.
And then your other comment was just to be consistent throughout the document to call it the North Olympic Peninsula. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on this page 4? Okay, let's go to page 5. Yes, Larry.
In the first paragraph, the employment group, I don't know that it's still called Battelle. I think Battelle may have sold the property. It's PNNL
Okay.
now. So if we're going to call them out, we might want to check that naming on that particular property.
Yeah, thank you. I was a little bit confused myself about the interchange of that, so I will get that nailed down. Thank you.
Anything else on page 5? Okay. Moving on to page 6. Goals and policies, et cetera, et cetera. Awful quiet.
Say something if you like.
Feel free. Compliments are welcome.
I have nothing to say on this page. That's a compliment.
It really is. Yep. I'll take it.
All right, well, let's move on to page 7.
I have a question on this one.
Sure.
Which of the following land use designations allow for higher densities? Because I see we don't have a high density specifically called out.
That is correct. We don't have a medium or high density residential land use designation. And it is something that we've talked about and I think we're open to, but Travis and I sort of decided perhaps that's a later discussion because we would be needing to rezone properties. But the high density is allowed in a number of our mixed use zones. So community mixed use, lifestyle district, for example, those two are going to be ones that allow, have no density identification. So density is designated by height and parking requirements. And so both of those districts allow for like 4 to 5 story buildings. So they would be representative of the highest density zones in the city.
Larry?
Under highway commercial, we talk about other transient visitors. Now, I'm not a city or a municipality person. When I hear transient, and I know probably in our community, transient has a connotation to it. I'm wondering if there's a different word, because I think what we're talking about is like business traveler or, something like that is what I think we're looking at here. So I just,
Transients?
How about what if
I don't know. I don't know what the proper, I'm reading it and I'm thinking if I run a podcast, would this light me up?
I think we could exchange transient to other travelers or even just drop the word and say other visitors.
I'm looking for words that are kind of like,
It's redundant.
Do you like travelers or do you want to just drop the word transient and say and other visitors?
Yep.
That one. Okay.
Anything else on page 7? Okay, let's go on to page 8.
Under the high-tech light industrial, almost a second to the last line, we talk about food and beverage manufacturing. I think that's production and distribution rather than manufacturing.
I think, yes. So I appreciate the question. So this did come out of the Leland report as a recommendation to perhaps look at niche food and beverage manufacturing in that might be a good fit for SQUIM. So, while food and beverage distribution would be fine, a fine a fine addition to I think SQUIM's businesses. This particular one was a recommendation from Lee that I know you haven't seen yet, but when I was writing this chapter, I was trying to kind of pull in some of their recommendations. They are recommending seeing if there's opportunities that perhaps is being there's some success in Jefferson County for breweries, wineries, and cideries. Is that how you say that? And where they are being manufactured here.
And
So
it's kind of like the brew place that tried to make a go of it, the hops over. They didn't last long, but they tried. That's what the idea was. They were growing hops and brewing.
I just, yeah, just I just don't know. Manufacturing seems like that seems like that's something that's not food related. I don't know. I don't know. If that's the right word, that's fine. It just struck me as something I would do
Oh.
with a car or a air conditioning unit or something like that, not necessarily,
production.
because
Well,
I was thinking, yeah. but
Maybe it's
If
production.
if that's the word they used in their study, that's fine.
Okay,
Mm.
but I'll double check that. So thank you. And actually I'll ask them if there's a more appropriate, like industry, more appropriate word, or if that is the word that's used in the industry. Thank you, Larry.
So, when you say manufacturing, I say now you got me thinking about it. So we have a local winery that, he does go buy his grapes in Eastern Washington, brings them here and makes wine, bottles and labels and so that would that would be manufacturing, you think?
Or production. I
or
think,
production.
I think so I just Google stuff because I'm like, what is food manufacturing? And it kept saying production.
Okay.
Production and or distribution. And so certainly the local winery does distribution as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think maybe production is the better word. I am feeling that way.
Anything else?
On that page.
Uh-huh. We're still on this page. Page 8.
So we talk about the agricultural conservancy as being public ownership. And to me, I don't know, isn't it private ownership?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Yep, you're completely right. So, no, it is it's under private ownership, and it's, as you know, it's only it's very specific area of town, kind of on the north.
That's just one little tiny parcel, so.
Yeah, yep. Thank you.
Could be more, maybe.
Yeah, it's funny. I was sort of chuckling because like that one particularly came straight from the zoning ordinance, so it was like a lot of eyes missed it, Larry. So thank you.
I'm reading.
He's
Yeah.
doing good. I like your boxes are succinct in the definitions and not volumes of definitions. Okay, ready to move on to page 9? Okay. Yes, Larry.
Under policy LU 2-4. And we're talking about the very last line, the well-being of historically marginalized populations. If we just strike historically, because it could be any marginalized, right? It could be a future, it could be a past, it could be, and I'm just, again, I'm looking for phrases that are gonna trigger certain responses in the community. So if we just lost historically, maybe that would be okay.
Yeah, I like that.
I just want to make a quick note on that. I appreciate what you're saying, and I can understand why the commission might want to do it, and I'm going to make a note to do it. However, I will say that historically marginalized populations is a term the state has used in some of the updates to the Growth Management Act that kind of came out of the 2020 and the some of the social justice uh, you know, policy changes. And so the state legislature made, this was right before they started doing all their zoning laws that of the last couple years, this kind of came out in 2021. So if I keep the word in there, it's because it's a specific requirement to use that specific word. But I think the rest of the policy still gets at the at commerce's and the state legislature's intent. So I think I'll be able to remove it, but I just wanted to kind of make that asterisk on that.
Yeah, and mine is really, we're suggesting, right? Ultimately, the city council says keep it or lose it. So I use a broader brush to make suggestions.
Yep. Understood. Thank you.
Well, if we kept historically, I know, I'm guessing at the issues, we could just, and currently marginalized populations to be more inclusive. I don't, but check on.
Yep.
A lot of this is, I don't know.
Yep.
Like you said.
Yep.
State expects.
Anybody else?
Well, just wanted to insert this in here, since we're looking at the low density. Again, I think that conversation about higher density zoning should be one that the city starts pursuing, especially when we're talking about, marginalized populations. It's the high density is a good way to provide housing for a lower cost, and well, we don't have any here, so.
Right. But we don't have it by name. So we do have it as allowed uses. And so when we did our housing distribution by income band, it is those the lifestyle district, the community mixed use district. It's let's see, I think there's the opportunity areas. Those are the three land use designations that made higher density assumptions, like even up to 20 dwelling units per acre based on the height limit. And so I appreciate your comment, and I guess the question is do you want the reason Travis and I did not recommend renaming any of those is because all three of those zones allow for mix of uses. And so it is it's a little bit of like a potpourri or a mixed basket of high density. So it's not even medium density. It's allowing up to a high density. It is allowing for a variety of commercial uses and office uses. And so they truly are mixed use districts. So a little bit different than maybe mixed use buildings or mixed use developments, but really allowing for a mix of uses throughout that district. So I guess I'm just trying to elaborate a little bit on it in the sense that I don't disagree. It is a bit unusual to have it. I mean, that was one thing. It took me a bit to get my head wrapped around. I'm like, where's your medium density? Where's your high density residential? But as I became to, know the city better and understand it's how it's set up in the comprehensive plan and the zoning, I want to assure you that there are opportunities for higher density residential in three of the land use designations, the zoning districts. It's just not as overt or like obvious, I guess.
Understood.
But having said that, if the commission wants to have the conversation about like, okay, because we did talk about it kind of earlier in the year, like the question is where should it go? What properties should get rezoned? And when you look at the map, it would have to be a rezone from residential low.
Yeah.
And the truth is that this is just a approach that I take for rezoning, is that without it being like a full city, like we're rezoning everything, which is not what we're proposing. I would want to make sure that we go through a proper public engagement or property owning engagement with potential rezone properties, because they weren't asking for it. That was part of like when we solicited the site specific redesignation amendments. We're like, okay, who wants to come forward and ask for their property to be something different? And that gave us a good flavor. And we actually ended up with at least 2 parcels that are going from HTLI to CMU. And so we did capture some more residential capacity through that request. So the question is do we have time in a timeline where we're already behind to engage in a rezone effort with property owners who probably are not contemplating rezoning? And I guess, to be honest, I made the decision, no, we don't have time to do that. We can process the property owners who want to rezone their property. And we also went through our land capacity analysis to determine that we didn't need to do any rezoning as far as meeting our requirements under the new state law for housing capacity by income band. So that's the long-winded answer to it. Other than saying, I agree with you. Travis agrees with you. We do think that there will be some point in the future where we will come back and we have the time then to engage with the property owners. But having said that, if the commission wants us to consider that, we certainly can take a pause and determine whether whether we should. The thing is what we tried to do is we tried to do as much as we could within the framework that we currently have. And so you'll see that we've recommended, in the council or the commission's already supported an upzone for the low density. I know it is one more unit, but it is an upzone, as well as allowing for more middle housing use type, or more middle housing, a variety of housing types in that zone. So again, sorry if I'm belaboring this. I just kind of wanted to give you, because Will does raise a really good point, that we had thought about it, and Travis and I, we did spend a lot of time talking through like what are the pros and cons to it. We know that the Planning Commission and City Council are both open to the idea of having specific higher density zoning districts. And I do think it will be something that we will move forward to in the future.
No, I agree. I'm a big fan of mixed use zoning. I think it makes a lot of sense if you have a building and they have some services there as well. I also think it's good to have the option for property owners, if they do feel like doing a rezone with that public comment. Maybe somebody doesn't want to live next to a store, but they wouldn't mind living next to some higher density residences. So just something to consider for the future. Not saying this is something we should tackle with this comprehensive plan cycle, because I understand.
Yeah, but like I said, I do appreciate the question. It is legitimate and it has merit, and thank you for letting me take some time to kind of explain the thinking behind why we weren't proposing it right now.
Since the question came up, somebody else might be looking for it too. Is there any like an addendum or FYI, the high density is located in these other zoning categories and mixed use somewhere? Is there going to be anything like that would be, not to confuse people, but maybe help them?
So a couple ways. So it's subtle. So we can talk about it when we get there
Okay,
under the
okay.
mixed use land use, which is 2.2.5.
Okay.
And so keep that in mind when we get there, because maybe you want to see another sentence or two in the narrative that discusses that these are our high density residential, this
Okay.
affords opportunity for high density residential. And then you'll definitely see it in the zoning ordinance when under those three zoning districts where we'll talk about what type of residential is allowed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. Good conversation.
Larry.
And continuing on that kind of theme, the very last policy, LU 3-1, there's an indication in that last sentence of the paragraph that we would possibly increase density past 9.
Yes.
Is that now no longer considered low density if once we push past? Because it was always like 8, right? Was like 8 so, and we pushed the envelope to 9. But if
Yes.
we go past 9, we're at 10 or
More.
is there going to be a limit so that the people in that area know I'm not suddenly in a high density?
Yeah. So
It's kind of just something to think about as you flesh out the other things is like, do we put a limit or do we just say it's 9 and there is no wiggle room past 9? Because that's starting to get pretty tight, isn't it?
The intent of that last statement is to identify the option, and it doesn't, I suppose it doesn't need to fully be in here, although it's helpful as a policy foundation. But maybe I can refine it. It is intended to provide ability to increase density for affordable housing. Like that would actually be um, the only option for increasing density. The way that would work, I talked a little bit about it, I think, in the past, where the past meetings, the intent would be to allow it on a case by case basis through authority granted by the state under a specific RCWs, one regarding housing authorities, and then one regarding just in general providing it would be for like more deeply affordable, the 50% AMI or less. So nonprofits, housing authorities, those that can keep these units in long-term affordable housing. It gives them the opportunity to use that authority granted in the RCW and it would be a city council decision because it would be basically proposing alternative development standards, including density for very specific projects that then would go, would have to be approved by the council on a case by case basis. So that language is kind of like higher than that, but the reality is that's the only circumstance that we're going to be proposing in the development regulations to have increased density. So, so with that, if you think that I should kind of, modify that last sentence, I certainly can, because I very much hear what you're saying, and I also do appreciate it. I'm a part of my foundational planning philosophy is predictability. Say
Right.
what the zoning ordinance needs to say, what you mean it to say.
Maybe just tighten it and say specifically for
Okay.
affordable.
Instead of saying such as, but be specific
Just
for
be
affordable.
very
Yep.
much tighter reins around it, so you don't run into a challenge. Because I just think 5 years from now, none of us are going to remember today. And what we
Yes.
said if it's not.
Mhm. You're not wrong.
5 minutes?
That's it.
Okay,
That's all I have.
okay. Yes,
Oh.
Alex.
Could I ask, for definition of the, gross acre? For instance, my property is just 45 by 90 feet, so that's 0.09 of an acre. You could get 11 of those in an acre. But perhaps if you include, sidewalks, streets, retention pond and all thing for the subdivision. Would that be how the gross acre?
More or less, but I want to do some quantifications to that. So for your lot that you just spoke of as an example, the 0.9 is the acreage. And sidewalk and roads have already been taken out of it and dedicated to the city, so it would not be included as part of your acreage. The gross acreage in that definition there, that net of 4 and gross of 9, gross acre is fully corner to corner all land. So what this density sets up for is fully the maximization of the property. That meaning you would take 5 acres, for example, and multiply it by 9, and that gives you your maximum density. Now, most of the time, you don't achieve your maximum density if it's horizontal, single family detached, because of the things that you talked about. Right of way dedication, which includes roads and sidewalks and anything in that, as well as any stormwater facilities that need to be placed on site that are subsurface, so they're not like a vault, and critical areas or other designated open spaces. Those 3 components are taken out of a calculation for a net density. So per 3.1, and this gets fully fleshed out in your zoning ordinance. But basically when a subdivision comes in, you do 2 calculations. One is, are you exceeding your maximum density allowed, which is 9 times the acreage? And are you meeting your net density, which is what's your density when you take out roads, sidewalks, open space, critical areas, and stormwater facilities? So if you have 5 acres, your net acreage, let's just say, is 4, then you would need to ensure that you're at least providing 4 units per that net acreage. So it's 2 calculations. It is confusing if you're all are like, I don't know what Carla just said. Don't feel bad. Even planners get wrapped around the axle on it. But if it makes you feel better, it's very clear for me. I've implemented this type of calculation for 20 some years, but that's the difference between gross acreage, which is everything within your property line, and net acreage. And those things that I just told you have to come out of it, those have been determined by the state as the qualifying things. So, and there's actually even a few more, like if a city requires tree retention can be taken out for a net acreage calculation as well, but the city SQUIM doesn't have that requirement. So I didn't mention it for that reason, but it would be roads, critical areas, open spaces, storm water facilities. Yeah, right.
3.2, the lot averaging to be identified as appropriate by the city's development regulations. Is this where we're going to go in and with the zoning code identify that?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, as you read it out, it's the as appropriate is meant to be for all that whole list, actually not just lot averaging. So the to be identified as appropriate is intended for that whole list. So I wonder if I wonder if that should get deleted.
Just
'Cause-
put a comma after averaging, I think, and that would bring it together.
okay.
That would read better
Yep.
because
think-
the other one isolates lot averaging.
Exactly. I totally see that. Yep. Yeah. So I think it could be, delete the comma before and lot averaging, and then add a comma after lot averaging and finish, and then
Yeah.
the rest.
Correct.
Yep. And I do want to just note that while sometimes it feels pedantic when we talk about punctuation, it absolutely is not. Never ever feel bad to bring that up, because would be surprised at how much ambiguity could occur because of punctuation, and especially in regulation. So we have a lot of work for the next couple of years between the comp plan and development regulations. So anytime, I really appreciate that, Karen, anytime anything comes up, like it is worth the second and third look on it, because we did an administrative determination just earlier this year because of the placement of a semicolon. So it is real.
I've got two easy ones. LU4 and LU4-1, we've got a Northern Peninsula and a Northern Olympic Peninsula. So
Okay.
we're going to swap them all over to North Olympic Peninsula. There you go.
Thank you very much. The question is northern capitalized? Is that normally how you see it? How it's used in the area?
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay, we'll look into that.
I probably wouldn't if I was writing about it myself, but maybe it typically is.
Move on to page 11. Here's the mixed use.
So I do see where you're talking about. This would be our high density area, the multifamily mixed use.
Yeah, so do you feel like I should add a sentence into the narrative there in mixed use that kind of just specifically calls that out
Right.
for the reason why we were talking earlier today? It's not obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Okay, let's move on to page 12.
Where does the statistic of the 1,000 jobs over 20 years come from?
Yes. Thank you. I can clarify that. That is the city's allocation from Clallam County. It's actually like 909. And so I don't know. I debated, like, do I put in that actual number or do the approximately 1,000 jobs? But it's our employment allocation from
That's
Clallam
all.
County.
It's pretty low.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everything's actually lower than I thought they were going to be, the population jobs. But if you, in the status update in that cover sheet, and I think actually the one for the elements, we have that paragraph in there that's in every single one, and that tells you what the population, housing, and job allocation is. So that's what that is. Now, in the economic development chapter, we're going to talk a lot more about that allocation, and we're going to we'll show some land capacity and show how it's being met, and we'll drill down more on that job allocation in the economic development chapter.
Thank you.
Welcome. I will just do one add-on where population and housing are allocations given to the city by the state,
via Clallam County, but the job allocation was derived by Clallam County DCD. And if you're curious, I can send you their document where they did the analysis if you're interested in reading about that. So.
It's just, it really points out, given the number of building permits that the graph showed, and giving a few jobs over 20 years, 1,000 jobs, but you're doing 200 houses almost in 1 year. That's kind of a disparity. It shows we're retired people.
Right, right. And I think, right, because that, you know, I don't know if we've done that job housing balance calculation actually yet, but having said that, the same narrative that was in earlier in this chapter, that these allocations aren't guarantees of growth either way, up or down. It's the same for the jobs. Yeah, it's just the minimum that we plan for. So our land capacity analysis has to ensure that we have non-residential zoned land, available land, vacant or underutilized land that can support the 1,000 jobs. That's the assignment. If it, you know, if we get more, that's awesome. Yeah.
So in master planning,
Yes.
does that say everything that we need to say about that? Seems like a pretty small paragraph.
I appreciate the question, and the answer is yes. And I can elaborate more if you want, but the answer is yes.
Okay.
It does.
No commas in the wrong place.
Yeah, right. I know. I should double check that.
I think we want to be real careful about this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, while we're on it, this is the cure, one of the cures that is necessary in order for the master plan overlay moratorium to be lifted and reconciled. What we are doing here is we're removing what's currently in the comprehensive plan, which is a sub-area plan requirement for planned resort community land use designation. And so what this policy, and it's actually on the next page, if we're ready to pop over to that, Emily, on page 13. There is 8.1. What this is saying is that that our development regulations, which will be the zoning ordinance, will include regulations for master planning, which would include criteria, the contents of a master plan, how it's to be processed, and any other appropriate standards. And then the next sentence designates that the planned resort community land use designation will be subject to master planning, and then provides that any other large property owner or property that would benefit from and a proposed large scale new development that would benefit from master planning could propose it either as a property owner, or the city could request or require a master plan for a larger scale development. So it does in two sentences capture what we need it to be to set up for the amendments that are also necessary to the development regulations. And that includes both the procedural ordinance and the zoning ordinance. So this is one half of the equation that needs to be updated.
Okay. Good.
But thank you for asking that, because it is an important question. And I did spend a lot of time making sure we were crossing the T's and dotting the I's on this policy.
Good. Anybody else? Larry?
No.
Oh. Good.
Now, I
Okay.
did move us ahead a page, so I wanted to make sure if there
We're
was
on
something on 12. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
So we're on page 13 that continues master planning discussion. Yes.
I do have a question on page 13, policy LU 9-2, which is the annexation of large areas. The statement, when possible, annexations should consider including the streets. Isn't that going to,
Hedgy?
instead of should consider, isn't that like must? I mean, we don't want to have like we just kind of went through some issues with some private streets and
Yes.
so should this be kind of maybe reconfigured to say, if we're going to annex your land, the streets are common. We're taking the streets
Taking the
because they got to
streets,
be to city code for all the good stuff we talked about, like, connectivity, et cetera, et cetera. So it just struck me that was kind of really might be odd that we took the land but left the streets private and run into this private street
Okay.
problem again.
I don't disagree. Okay.
But annexation is different than public versus private street. You may have county versus city. So if you annexed a parcel that's a county road and the county snowplow comes up to the city road and says, oh, I can't do the city road, and then stops. So I think the way it's worded accommodates some of those difficulties with maintenance issues.
Right. But I also think, yes. And I also think Larry brings a good point up that what if we were doing an annexation and there was a private road and that's unincorporated, is that something we want to take in to? So given the challenges around how private roads are regulated in the city. So I mean, those two are really good points. In fact, I was just talking annexation with multiple people today. So I think in general, when you have an annexation come in, you want to capture all the roads. I think just as a generalized policy, and allow for the city engineer to have some discretion on a case by case basis if there's something in either one of the scenarios that the both of you identified, because either one could be a maintenance issue or an access issue for snow plowing or maintenance of the road, or bringing in a private road would create a difficulty that is not being experienced as an unincorporated area, but would be under city jurisdiction based on the city's specific standards on private roads. So I'm gonna flag that and give it some more thought if that's okay, because the private road thing in SQUIM is a bit unique, and it adds layers of challenges and opportunities. So, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on page 13? Okay, rolling to page 14. No comments? Okay. Rolling to page 15.
If I may, I just wanted to note that you may have thought when you read that, why is drainage, flooding, stormwater, and groundwater protection in this chapter? And I think I might have noted in the cover sheet, but these two are very specific requirements of GMA, that there at least a nod to them need to be included in this chapter. Water and stormwater will be addressed in the capital facility plan. So you'll see you'll see more of actual practicality of it in the capital facility plan. And these are just, the high level kind of water quality type of goals and policies.
So, seems like in the past few years, they've increased requirements for stormwater and you've got federal, state, and local requirements.
Yes.
Are we up to date with all the requirements that have come to us so far? Or are there things coming down that you know of that?
So we are up to date in our adoption of the latest Department of Ecology Stormwater Management Manual for Western Washington. Our municipal code adopts that manual, and as well as being any future manuals. The city has not been designated under the Federal Clean Water Act and NPDES, and National Pollution Elimination. Is that right? Will, you're shaking your head. Do you remember what the rest of it is? Elimination system? Is that it? For sure, he is not wrong. So we don't generate enough stormwater and stormwater pollution yet to be designated an NPDES jurisdiction. And he's right. We're happy that we're not, because that adds a whole layer of regulations that we don't have to do right now.
Okay. Got plenty already. All right.
But I guess I do want to note, I want to note that just because we're not does not mean that we're not doing proper water quality and water quality treatment in our stormwater. So I wanted to caveat my statement that we're not an NPDES. We are following the Department of Ecology manual, and we are we're meeting the water quality standards that are identified, and that we're requiring development to follow those standards.
Okay, great.
Just a generalized question. Do your standards require that no drainage be altered on development? Because I know there are retention ponds where the veterinary clinic was built near Henderson. So is that generally the standard? You won't increase the runoff from your sites?
So generally the standard is that you're going to always have increased volume with increased impervious surface, and once it's collected and detained, the detained water needs to be metered out at what's called the pre-development rate. And so you're going to generate more stormwater, but in theory, it's supposed to be leaving the site at the rate that it did before it was developed, but it will be for longer duration because there's more water. And that's under the stormwater manual. And then and water needs to stay within the basin that it is generated in. So you can't take stormwater and direct it to another basin. Mm-hmm. And you have to detain your water, treat it, and discharge it on your property to its proper, to the proper discharge point. So if there's something happening with the veterinarian clinic, you can let me know and I can let the city engineer know.
No, okay. No. I was just curious, as you're saying that we're not there yet as far as the regulations on drainage, but the more 9 acre or 9 homes per acre we build, and the more high density that we build, the more drainage that we'll have.
Yes.
And the more sidewalks and the more road, so we increase the impervious areas. So that becomes a factor in all of it.
It does. That's right. And the NPDES. First of all, I'm not an expert in it, so I know enough to be I can speak around it and may be dangerous, but right in that saying. But the NPDES, what Will was referring to, I'm assuming, but you can certainly speak for yourself. And this is that it triggers a whole monitoring program that a whole new program the city would be responsible for managing, and that is ensuring that monitoring and treatment of stormwater facilities are being done and by commercial development as well as residential. So practically what that has meant for all of our jurisdictions in the I-5 corridor in Western Washington that get a lot more stormwater management than SWIM does is that there is a NPDES coordinator, staff person, and an increased stormwater maintenance crew, because HOAs are not outfitted to maintain their own stormwater ponds or detention vaults. And so then the city will manage those maintenance and cleaning of that. And then commercial development does not get to enjoy that same benefit that HOAs do. And they will be responsible for maintaining and monitoring their stormwater facilities. And then they have to hire vendors to clean it and then give annual and sometimes semi-annual reports to the city that they're following those rules. And then that's like the main piece of what MPDS requires in addition to following the stormwater manual. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
I think that's close.
Thank you.
What I do know was when I was with the city of Port Angeles, it was a months-long process for the Department of Public Works to make these reports to the federal government. I mean, volumes of information.
Yep.
And I believe what the original trigger for City of Port Angeles was their old combined stormwater and sewage system. During high flow events, you discharge sewage into the Straits of Juan de Fuca. So that triggered it in the first place. Now, they've made great improvements. I've seen their enormous reports that show the number of discharge events is going down, but I think it should be a goal of the city of Sequim to avoid coming into that category. I believe it's based on your wastewater discharge point. If you exceed a certain level, that
Okay. Yeah.
don't quote me on that.
I was gonna say, I don't actually know what the trigger is either. And so I appreciate your comments, Will, a lot. So, I mean, I'm curious enough that I'll go look into that. It could be that, it could be impervious surface. I actually don't know. It's defined by the Federal Clean Water Act. So it's not a state definition of who becomes, and even then the NPDS has phase 1 cities and phase 2 cities. And so that's even further refined. So like cities like the city of Seattle is a phase 1 and it's based on its, size and population. So I believe. So we're all talking around the edges of like what I think about, what I think I know about it. So.
Well, let's just stay where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. We're on to, where are we? 16. Look at that. It's a short one. Oh my God. Come on, Larry. Okay. Anybody else?
Just have a question. Now, I'm not proposing any changes. Is anyone familiar with where the DNR is at with their wildland urban interface program? That was shaping up to be real scary at the county when they were proposing that, and I'm just not familiar with where they're at on it.
Well, I'm trying to remember. So our building official is also our fire marshal. We're very, very lucky to have him be certified in both. And so he and I actually were just talking about it like last week. And so I'm going to try to pull up an email and see if I think that I don't think he knew of anything quite yet, but let me see if I can.
I think they keep going back and forth with, agreeing on certain things, and that's pretty much where they stand. I think they want to adopt something next year maybe, but I don't think they're going to.
Okay, so here's what he said in his email. Washington State's adopted the Wildland Urban Interface Code, but due to issues with DNR mapping, the WUI, which is the acronym for Wildland Urban Interface Code, is not in effect until 6 months after new mapping is completed by DNR, but we have no definitive date yet. So the city does not have any local ordinances regarding WUI other than its adoption as adopted by the state of Washington. And so it is unknown how Washington amended WUI code will affect the city of Sequim until mapping and amendments are completed. So that was last week. That was an email to me from last week.
Just for the commission's information, the first proposed map that we had seen when I was a planner with Colum County pretty much considered the entire city of Port Angeles as in the wildland urban interface, which is hugely increased requirements for structural big beams. You have to keep vegetation away from your home. Lots of stuff that it didn't go over very well for lots of reasons.
Yeah, and I think that was true for here. I think that are you okay? Joel said he thought that it was almost the whole city of Sequim was designated that as well. So it is good that DNR is taking their time and doing it so that everyone doesn't freak out.
Okay. No comments for page 16? What's next? The map.
Okay, so I think I noted this in your packet. Oh my goodness, look at that. So the map, this
Yeah.
this map that Emily was showing, she helped make from our current map because we are between GIS people at this point. So we will, when you see this map again, it will be updated using our mapping protocol that you saw, like for parks and for the natural environment chapter and for our parks and open space chapter. And this map just showed our proposed redesignation of schools and other public facilities to public facilities to that one land use designation. And then when you see it again, it will include the site-specific amendments, rezones that we're recommending, and we will have some type of marcation like a hatching or a outline so you can see those parcels in the context of the whole city as well. And then we'll have some notations like, again, which parcels are going from what current designation to the new the designation on the future land use map. So. And that will then pull it all together, all the, the site specifics, the discussion of the land use designations, and then the update to the map itself under our mapping standards for the comprehensive plan. There it is. Okay.
Good job.
Murphy's Law.
So the public facilities is the main thing that's changed on here. They were schools or parks, and so we are putting them all under public facilities. Although I did have actually a question for the commission, because as I was working on this, I wondered if public use might be a better term for it than public facilities. And even though we had proposed that term to you, Travis had in the last couple meetings, I thought, well, maybe public use might be a better term. But in any case, we kept open space. We didn't include that in there, like we did parks, and the reason is because that is pretty much designated very specific land from the state that is in perpetuity as a natural area.
Would this block be a PF, public facility? Because I thought we were talking about any city, county, school district, anything that was like even the PUD building, if the PUD building had something
Right.
here. So I don't know that this.
So I think
When we
that,
designate this as public
yeah.
facility.
Well, it is a really good question, because I thought about this building and I thought about the city shops and what I think this is where it starts splitting hairs a bit, because if you look at that map, would it be weird to have one small parcel in the middle of like DD, basically the red, which is downtown, to be public facility or public use for this building? And the same for the shops, which is under the highway commercial warehouse zoning. So I think we landed on ones that are large enough acreage that they merit having their own zoning district.
Right.
And facilities like this are an allowed use in the within the
Okay.
zoning
All right.
district.
That makes
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's nothing else going to go on Cary Blake Park except for a park ever. For example, I'm looking at the big swaths. It's the schools, it's Cary Blake Park, and it's the Keeler Park, right? Keeler Memorial Park
Yes.
on the other side of the highway.
So those are excellent points, because that does mean
Nothing
that
else can go there.
nothing else can go there. And if the city was ever to divest themselves of the property, it would require a rezone, a change of the designation. But it's already zone park,
Right.
so it's not really changing the status quo. It's just changing the word, the way we're classifying it.
Yeah. What about, and I don't know the answer to this, but what about tribal land that might be in the city limits? Does that need to be highlighted? And because technically then it's not even, there's a difference, and that's all I know. And I'm going to just stop talking right now, but I know that
Yes, I know I
you
have.
get where I'm going with that.
Yes, I been learning myself. So here's what I know. So if it's tribally owned land that hasn't been moved and approved to be tribal trust land, if it's tribally owned land, then they are subject to the city's land use regulations.
Okay.
Upon approval by the federal government of their owned land to tribal trust land, they do not need to comply with city regulations.
Right.
So there's a mix of both within the city limits right now.
So should they get their own color coded thing that says, okay, these are the spots?
If
And
it's tribal trust, it'll be shown as something separate. If you look at like the county's GIS mapping,
Right.
Anything that's tribal trust is designated in yellow, for example. If it's just owned by Jamestown or Lower Elwha or something, then it's just regular zoning.
I think,
He's asking
if we should reflect it on the map. I mean, I think that we
If
did
it's
talk.
trust,
because
right?
it's land we can't use.
Correct. And so we did take it into account when we did our land capacity analysis. So for sure we did that. So when we took a look at all of that land and we determined how much was available
Right.
for future development, all tribal land got deducted. We didn't keep a single acre in. They may develop it, and it may be for housing, it may be for commercial development, but for purposes of our capacity analysis, we just needed to assume that they were, that it wasn't available. So,
Right.
But is your question that it needs to have like their own designation on the map? I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, and it's a question. It's not a statement. It's really just a question of should that be its own thing on here so that everybody knows when they're looking at this, our zoning doesn't affect what's happening in those spots.
Well, and I'll expand that. I think if that is to be done, I think lands that are under tribal trust would be the only ones you'd want to designate as separately.
Okay.
For example, there's my property on River Road, 10 acres next to me is owned by Jamestown, and I believe they're applying to get that converted to trust land. But if that didn't happen for some reason, they could still sell it because it's just owned by the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But if it did get converted, then it's a totally different story.
So would you be okay if we
I'd like to punt this to the city council. The decision to do it or not. I mean, I just think it's something that I see on other maps. And I see, okay, this is the Jamestown land, and it's not just here in Clallam. They have some in Jefferson and otherwhere. And I see all the tribal lands separately. I think I would suggest we follow that convention. If it's just the trust lands, I'm deferring to people who know a lot more than I do, and consider mapping that out. If there's any, I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, I don't know if there is any either. I know that they've applied for a couple. I think it's in process. I guess what I was going to suggest, if this was maybe a friendly amendment to your suggestion, is approaching that. We have already had one meeting with the Jamestown Tribe Planning Director, And we agreed that we would be communicating with them throughout the process. Is it appropriate to ask them how they would
Yeah.
like their property to be designated on our map?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's also important for just knowledge, general knowledge,
Yes.
that this isn't this little corner, and it, is not Squim City. Right?
Yes.
And there are people who would possibly question that and say, well, they're not complying with the city regulations. But if it's under the tribal trust, then they
Then
don't
they don't
have to.
And
But
that's the answer, is that
and-
this little section
Yeah,
is
I think-
sovereign nation, or whatever the
I might-
proper term is for that. But
might be a
it might be
preventable.
helpful. And again, you're probably going to come back and say, hey, guess what? We don't have any. And thanks for wasting my hour.
No, it's a good question. So I think that the threshold is if it's tribal trust, we should reflect it on the map. I mean, I
Yes.
think I'm hearing
Yes.
consensus for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah,
So I can definitely move forward with that. And I think we can find that information.
I think the rest would be discriminatory. It would be like saying, well, Walmart owns that parcel over there and Smith's owns something over there. And so, but tribal trust land is a separate category.
Yep. Okay.
yeah, I agree too.
I just have one more suggestion or something to consider. You raised the question of PF.
Yeah.
The county just calls their public zone public.
Public. Okay.
I mean, that's quick and easy.
What do you guys think? I mean, it's just a preference. At this point,
Yeah.
it's preference, but I mean, I did raise it. I think, and that's an excellent alternative too. Do you guys have a preference on public facility, public, or public use?
Public.
It's public. Yeah.
Okay, let's change it to public then.
Cool. That the last page? I think it is. Thank you for getting this to us timely and actually listening to us.
No,
Yeah, so I wanted, can we talk about that for a minute?
That's election night.
Oh,
Yeah, so you actually will I do recommend canceling the 4th because you will have the 17th as the joint city council planning commission meeting. And I really am hoping, it's a little bit on the hairy edge, but I am hoping that we'll have a housing chapter for you on the 18th. So you would have back-to-back meetings. And so it does seem appropriate to cancel the meeting on the 4th, especially since we got through the chapter tonight. Is that acceptable?
sure.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to cancel the 4th. You'll have a special joint meeting on the 17th, and we'll keep you posted, but assume now we'll have housing goals and policies to review on the 18th, but yeah, I'm still optimistic that I will have the chapter done for you by then. So. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we're on the agenda. We're done with new business and director's report. If you have any more words of wisdom for us.
Yes, well, I just want to take a minute to celebrate getting through the land use. So good job, commission. Really, that, it's coming together. I wanted to share with you a couple things that are just planning, that other thing that would be of interest to you. The city participated in kind of the county took the lead on a multi-year effort to update its multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan that's required by FEMA, as well as Department of Emergency Management in the state of Washington, and the county hired an excellent consultant, and it had a very diverse and wonderful. I mean, honestly, had everybody on the committee to work on updating the hazard mitigation plan. It started in 2023. Is that right? Okay, thank you, Will. So it is rounding the corner. So FEMA has approved it. The Board of County Commissioners have approved it. And I just wanted to let you know that we'll be bringing it forward to the City Council on Monday for City of Sequim approval. So that keeps us in compliance with FEMA and keeps us able to apply for grants that are related to emergency response and hazard mitigation. So the other thing that I wanted to just highlight is that one of the many things our department's working on is to improve customer service. And awesome Emily, or whatever the steakhouse guy called you, has initiated and implemented a program where we are accepting online appointments by interested citizens or developers or anybody who wants to meet with the DCD staff. They can click on it. We have online bookings available on our webpage, as well as we have links on all of our email signatures. So it takes you to a bookings page where you can pick different appointment slots and make an appointment with any one of the staff. So it is a step for us, and looking forward to providing that service to folks who want to meet with DCD staff and want to make an appointment, at 2 a.m. So and that's my director's report.
Okay. Well, thank you. I like good news all the way around. So is there anything for the good of the order?
Well, the question I should have asked earlier, just two curiosities. Is there only wastewater discharge point somewhere near the down by the dairy towards Port Williams? Well, it's not Port Williams. At the water treatment facility, must enter Sequim Bay. There's a pipe there.
I will have to say I don't know. I haven't had the chance to read the sanitary sewer plan to know the existing facilities yet. So I'm sorry that I can't answer that question for you.
Areas have retention ponds or detention ponds. All others through the city, do they have some magic place the stormwater's going? So there's not a big storm drain emptying out into the bay or Bell Creek or Johnson Creek.
Right. So most of your stormwater in the city is going to drain to those two creeks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it may not be direct discharge to that creek. I mean, if the property's adjacent to it or nearby, but it will take some type of conveyance, maybe ditches, or it may be closed conveyance, but most of the drainage kind of, at least here in proper Sequim, and it's going to be based on topography of where the water goes naturally now. It's going to go in there, when you look at a city for stormwater management, you put them into drainage basins, and that's based on the topography, and where the water goes now, that's where the water's still going to go. Practically, it goes to those two creeks, or perhaps a wetland if there's a wetland nearby, and that's what's collecting the stormwater already. Eventually, all the creeks find their way to the bay.
We're good? I guess we need a motion to adjourn then. Second, any objections to adjourning? Hearing none. Meeting's over at almost 7 p.m. Thank you all for coming. See you soon.